present today, represented by Ms. Leslie Levi, and joined by both Ms. April Harrison Bader and Ms. Ashley Crouch with Belong. Ms. Elizabeth Fisher is here as Jackson's attorney and guardian ad litem.
Where is he currently placed?
He is currently placed at the Hempel shelter, which I guess also goes by 777 Ranch, and it is an RTC in the Rosenberg area.
How's he doing in that placement?
He's doing pretty okay. He does tend to butt heads with some of the other residents there, but overall he's doing okay.
And what's the department's permanency plan for this child?
So as of right now, I believe our permanency goal is unrelated adoption.
Okay, is it true that Jackson is saying he does not want to be adopted?
That is correct. So we are looking at officially changing the goal to independent living.
Are all of his medical and dental up to date?
Yes, I will say that we have had some issues with the dental insurance, just because they had his adoptive name, I guess, on his record. I had to go through them to get that fixed, and as far as I know, it has been updated at this time.
So does Jackson have any needs at this time that the court needs to address in terms of issuing any orders or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Fisher, do you have questions for
yes,
Ms. Harrison Bader?
just a couple, Your Honor. Are you telling us that is not his name that he got when he was adopted?
So I guess his Julian Garcia is the name that they have on their, or that they had on their records, which is not reflective of what his current legal name is.
But when he came into this case, when it was a failed adoption, he would have been this Julian Garcia. Would you have not?
Correct.
Can you explain why his name, though, in the case is Jackson, not Julian Garcia then?
My understanding is that Jack is the name that he goes by.
Okay. Have you been able to talk to Jackson about he has a friend in Stockdale whose parents might want him to be placed with them?
I have not spoken with him about that.
Okay. Do you know the status of his cochlear implant?
I do not. I did reach out to the placement recently, and I am waiting on an update from them.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
What is the status of Jackson's education? Where is he going to school? At the charter school?
Yes, yeah. So he is still enrolled at the charter school. He is in 10th grade, and he is passing all of his classes with A's and B's.
Okay. What about employment? He had previously expressed interest in employment, and that was something that I had directed and asked the previous caseworker to look into as an option for him.
So I was unaware of that. However, I am meeting with Jackson this coming Saturday, and I will definitely speak with him about that and the placement to see where we are as far as that goes.
Okay. What, if anything, can this court do to address the issue for his dental needs? Is there anything that this court can order to help address and clarify that that issue?
No, I don't believe so. Whenever I most recently spoke with Dental Quest, which was Monday, it showed in their system that the name is reflected as Jackson.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Ms. Levi?
No, Your Honor, stay at rest.
Ms. Fisher, do you have a report of your own?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. I met with Jackson yesterday, and we had a nice long visit. He was very happy to tell me he passed the PALS testing, so he was very happy about that. And he showed me his report cards, and A's and B's. So he's doing really well in school. He said with this cochlear implant, they sent him a new battery because he was having problems with it, and so it's working better for him. But they're trying to get him in some kind of, like, they have classes or training, like, to help you use it better. And I guess exercises or things so he could actually use it better and get more benefit from it. So that hasn't happened yet, but and I tried to speak with Ms. Harper about it, but I wasn't able. I called her and I wasn't able to get a hold of her, but just for a minute, and she wasn't able to call back. I thought he wanted to come to the hearing today, and I had sent the information to Ms. Harper, and if he could, sneak out of school since he's homeschooled, but I guess that it wasn't possible today. He doesn't like his medication, but he's fine taking it. He sees his therapist, Michael Thomas, every week, and he likes him. That's going well. He still doesn't get along with his housemates. We talked about just, he just is nice to them, but just doesn't interact too much with them. He did complain that other kids are stealing his underwear, and he needs clothing. He says he has holes in all his socks. He needs his shoes. His underwear that he does have is too small, and he wants some Nike Air Max Zephyr. We looked those up and so he does need clothing according to him. And we talked about that either CPS could do that, or maybe I could take him on a shopping trip and help him get some clothes. And what else did he report? Of course, he wants to go to regular school still. And he said that I guess he somehow won a tablet. I think there's an Easter egg hunt or something. And so he has a tablet now. And he's able to FaceTime with his friends from when he was, when he was adopted, and that, the friends tell him how much they miss him. And he said one or two of them, their parents might be willing to have him, to adopt him. And of course, I know that could be very fanciful in his mind, not really necessarily do what the case is. But I said, well, I said, talk to your friends and get their parents' name and the phone number, and I'll call them and I'll talk to them. And we'd have to talk to, obviously CPS and the shelter, but maybe you could go for a visit, or, it may not be anything at all. It may be something that he's just thinking, because he does sometimes have these ideas and they're not actually accurate. But overall he was doing well, but he really wants some new clothes, and he says he has nothing to work out and that kind of thing. And so he wants to be adopted now by these friends' parents. This is, but I never heard him by another name, and that's what's throwing me off here. He came into this case under Jackson. It could have been under, he would have had to have his
I
new,
know.
yeah. So
I'm confused by that as well. But it sounds like it's been resolved, which I'm happy to hear. Well, thank you so much for meeting with him. I'm sorry I missed seeing him today. I always learn a lot when I talk to him, as it sounds like you did as well. At this time, based on the testimony the court has heard, the court is going to continue Jackson's placement, find that continuation of that placement is in his best interest, that all of his physical, emotional, medical, and academic needs are being met there presently, that it's in his best interest to remain there, and that it's the least restrictive placement available to him, given his special needs and individual circumstances. In addition, the court is going to order the department through Belong to provide him with new clothing if it doesn't fit and it has holes, and he's anything like my son goes through socks very quickly. I don't know what they do to those socks, but I think it's very important to make sure that he has what he needs. So please follow up on that, as well as the cochlear implant. That's been an issue that's come up at every single hearing we've had involving Jackson, and we need to make sure that what he has is functioning the way that it should, and that he's getting maximum benefit from that. So if there's a training or a program that some sort of way that he needs to be trained on how to maximize its potential use and really fully benefit from what it has to offer, and that will address the issue completely for him, then I am ordering belong to ensure that that is followed through on and offered to him. And to have him medically evaluated as to determine if that is all that he needs. Because this has been a constant question. It's not clear to me that a medical professional has said what he has is functioning the way that it should, and and that's all that he needs or could benefit from at this point. So I'd like Belong to look into that as well as the issue of employment. That was, a constant thing that he was interested in. And as I understood, some of the other residents at his placement had that opportunity and ability. And if he's doing well in school, that's a definite reward, I would think, for him to show him that you're doing well in school, and this is something you can do as well, since you're managing those responsibilities. I also want you to look into the friend and family members. We owe it to him to see if that's an option. And I forgot to ask if a circle of support has been set up or offered to him. If it has not already, this case is not that old, and so it would be surprising to me in the handoff from the last caseworker to you if one had been held. But he is 16. He will be 17 in June. So, I mean, we really need to have one of those circles of supports and ensure that he understands all of his PAL benefits and starts planning for his future, if that future is going to be independent living. So I am going to find that Belong is making reasonable efforts to achieve permanency for him, but all of those matters need to be addressed for that to continue to be found. And we are scheduled for our next permanency review after final order on September the 13th at 9:30. Do the parties wish to maintain that hearing as a Zoom hearing, especially if it would allow Jackson to participate?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I don't hear any objections to that. So I will record the agreement to proceed via Zoom, and we will be back on September the 13th at 9:30. Is there anything else we need to address at this time? We are set today for a permanency
Your Honor.
review before
All
final
right, well,
order,
thank you all so much.
and the court will recognize that the department is present, represented by Ms. Leslie Levi, and joined by representatives from Belong, Brianna Pollux and Alexis Mickens. We also have Miss Christina Falkowitz here. She's the attorney for Miss Verdi Warren. Is Miss Warren present?
I don't see her,
Yes.
Your Honor. I did expect her to be. She was released yesterday. And since this is her
Is that
first
her?
Zoom.
That says Misty Wisdom.
Oh, is it?
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
okay. I think,
Never mind.
okay. I got confused. I thought it was you, Miss Warren, but I was confused by the name on the screen. So, all right. So Miss Verdi Warren is present along with her attorney, Miss Christina Falkowitz. In addition, we have Mr. Marco Cabrera here. He's the attorney for Jesse Hyatt. I don't see Mr. Hyatt on the call. Are you expecting him to participate? He did participate at our last hearing.
Yes, Your Honor, I am expecting. I had relayed the information. If he's not here, though, I won't be making any not ready announcements.
Okay. And if you want to try to just text him and remind him to get on board that we're getting started, please do. In addition, we have Miss Sonia Sims here. Miss Sims is the attorney and guardian ad litem for Angel. And we have some additional individuals here. I'm sorry if I've left you off. We have Mr. Joseph Scheck-Snyder with CASA of South Texas. Ms. Jacqueline Della Torre with CASA is joining right now. So, Mr. Cabrera, you're reaching out to your client to try to get Mr. Hyatt on board?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get started, and I hope that he will join us soon. Ms. Levi, will you be calling Ms. Pollux as your first witness?
Yes, Your
All right,
Honor.
Ms. Levi, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just as way of an initial announcement, the parties did start a mediation. There were several options that we were discussing. However, Mr. Hyatt was adamant that he had a false positive drug test and needed to be retested. So along with an expedited home study, and the department agreed to that retest. Ms. Pollux is working very diligently to get it sent out. She's run into some issues with the bureaucracy, but it should be done very quickly. And besides that, the parties are agreed on a remediation date to follow up on the drug test, the home study, and see if we can get a final settlement to this case.
All right. And when is that remediation scheduled? Do you have a date?
Yes, Your Honor, it's May 15th at 9 a.m. So that should give us plenty of time for the drug test and the home study.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that update. I knew that mediation had been attempted, so I'm glad to know that the negotiations are ongoing. So with that in mind, let's get updated on all the other issues. Ms. Levi, you may proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Pollux, could you please state your name for the record?
Brianna Pollux.
And are you the caseworker for Angel?
Yes.
Where is he currently placed?
He is currently placed in a shelter in Kerrville.
And how's he doing in that shelter?
He's doing really well.
Are all of his medical and dental needs being taken care of and up to date?
Yes, ma'am.
He recently started family therapy with his father, is that correct?
Yes, that is.
How is that going?
From the reports I've received, they've been really positive. Angel's been coming back very happy, very excited. Dad, from my understanding, has been appropriate during the visits. There's been no concerns that have occurred thus far. There has been one missed visit, which I'm still trying to get details on. But as far as I know, there was just one that has been missed.
And how's the father doing on his family plan of service?
He was doing very well. I've seen a little bit of a backtrack, I would say. I'm a little concerned for him right now. I haven't been able to get in touch with him. And talking to his counselor, she's a little worried for him right now as well. But, you know, prior to this, I would say this month, since mediation, he was fully engaged in therapy, doing really well, engaging weekly, excuse me. He is currently on the wait list for family violence prevention services, but he's initiated that service with them on their end in terms of paperwork. He's provided proof of employment and income, legal income to me. He's had a stable house as far as I've had. As far as my home visits have gone, the home is completely appropriate. He has a suitable arrangement for Angel as well. Our drug screens are really concerning at this point. His last test in March was positive for methamphetamines, and the levels were actually higher than what they were in December. And so that is very concerning for us right now, but Mr. Hyatt has adamantly denied that that's the case, and feels that, you know, he would like another shot. Like you've mentioned earlier, we're trying to get that set up.
And the department has conveyed to him that if there has been a relapse, being upfront about it is our most important thing at this point.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so if his attorney is able to relay one message to him, it's that we need him to re-engage and be upfront and honest, not kind of disappear. Would you agree?
Definitely.
And now, as for Ms. Warren, she was recently released. Is that correct?
As of yesterday, yes.
And have there been some indications to you that she is taking her recovery very seriously as well?
I believe so. She has a ton of support, which is amazing. I've talked to her about this just not too long ago, this morning. She has a lot of support with her family that's willing to help her get going and get settled. And she's already making strides towards getting suitable arrangements for housing and employment. And getting probation figured out and those things. So I plan to meet with her next week to give her a little bit of time to settle, but obviously get her engaged in our side of things and make sure we're not duplicating services with probation as well.
All right. And now, who is the home study being performed on? That would be the name on Miss Warren's screen, Misty Wisdom. Is that correct?
Yes, Misty Wisdom is Miss Warren's maternal aunt, I believe.
And has any kind of preliminary been done, or any of the initial steps?
Yes, the preliminary was completed. My hope is that we get it back early next week, because it was a 5-day expedited, and there was some internal issues of getting it sent out, but it has been completed, and I expect to have it back very quickly.
Now, given that Angel is in a shelter, if that turns back positive, and there are no concerns, is it the department's intention to place?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else the court needs to know about how this case is going?
Not that I can think of at this time.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
Before we do that, just for my own benefit, I want to make sure, what was the home study was on the maternal great aunt?
Yes, it's mom's aunt. Yes, thank you.
Okay. And what's her name again?
Misty Wisdom.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Oh, and where is that? What county is her home?
I don't know the county. I just know the city.
Where's the city?
Yorktown.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yes,
All right. With that, Mr. Cabrera, do you have questions for Ms. Pollux?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. Can you describe, go into detail more about some of the concerns the council was having with about Mr. Hyatt?
Yes, Mr. Hyatt is very vocal about what he wants, how he wants to make sure things are happening, and very on top of his services when as far as I've been on his case. And from what she has expressed to me, he's been very quiet to her as well. And so, like, normally I hear from him every day. That's just his normal. And I haven't heard from him at all in the month of April. What she expressed to me is that he missed his last appointment. And
when was that last appointment?
I believe it would have been the 30th, and he hasn't had one set up since then. Like, he hasn't been reaching out to her to set up another one, which is very atypical for him.
Okay. And when was your last communication with him?
My last time with him would have been the 31st, because we were talking about that missed appointment.
Okay. So you haven't talked to him in this month either?
No, I have not.
And I'm assuming you've made contact attempts with him since?
His phone just goes to voicemail, straight to voicemail.
There hasn't been a time when has there been a time when you've called him and it's rung?
I haven't had that experience.
So every time you call, it goes straight there?
Yes.
Okay.
I text and it says it goes through, but I don't get a response. But that could just be because it's off. I'm not sure.
Have you had any UAs from him?
This month, no. I mean, in the course of the case?
Well, since the last follicle test.
No, not a UA since the March screening.
Okay. Thank you. I'll pass.
All right, Ms. Stockowitz.
You said that Dad missed a visit and you're still trying to get information. When was that missed visit?
I don't know. I've been calling the provider to get a report. When I've contacted the placement, they said that they believe there was a missed visit, but couldn't tell me the date right offhand because they were having a inspection at that time.
Okay. With Mom, are you aware of what services she completed while she was incarcerated?
She provided me with a list. She wrote me a letter. She provided me with a list of things that she was doing while incarcerated. Yes.
Okay. And what services are you going to be asking her to do now that she's been released?
Well, like I said, I plan to meet with her on Tuesday and kind of discuss, make sure if there are any new issues that we address that. But obviously within her family plan is safe and stable housing, legal income, to address parenting, individual counseling, ongoing drug screens. I know she just got out of treatment, but we want to make sure she has support in that way. And again, within her family plan is the family violence prevention service. So that as well.
Okay. And what is your plan as far as visits between mom and Angel?
We're actually just talking about this. Mom and I were just talking about this. He is in Kerrville, and that's quite a ways away. But dad is making the effort to go out there and get those visits done with him. We were talking about her ability to get out there, and she's not 100% sure if she can. I think it would be, I want to see her be stabilized because she just got out yesterday, but I think the therapeutic visits would be appropriate for Angel. His understanding right now is that she's working. But like I've said, the visits with dad have been going well.
Okay. So you said therapeutic visits. So which therapist would do those visits?
Her name is Patricia Garza, and that is Angel's therapist.
All right. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Sands, any questions for Ms. Pollux?
Yes, Ms. Pollux, placement resides, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Georgetown, is that correct? Potential
Yorktown.
Yorktown, thank you. Has the department identified a therapist that can work with Angel and do family therapy in Yorktown?
I have not at this time, but that's something we can definitely get working on.
Is it possible to identify this therapist and maybe get on the wait list if there is one, so that the child does not miss therapy sessions and mom's therapeutic visits can begin immediately upon placement?
I can definitely look into that. I can say family therapy and kids therapy in person is definitely challenging, but it's definitely something we can put to the top of the list to make sure that there's not a lapse in services.
Okay. Also, will you update mom on where Angel is currently and share therapy notes with her before she begins her visits with him?
Yes, it is also the provider's policy to have a session with the parent first to go over what their expectations are, and then they have the child come in after.
Right. So will Miss Patricia Garza be able to work with mom virtually to update her on the sessions?
That would be something I'd have to talk to her with. I know that with dad, she wanted the first session to be in person, and then beyond that, they could do virtual. But she was open to that after the first one. And if transportation is something, I can assist.
Okay, excellent. All right, thank you. I'll pass the witness.
All right. Anyone else have questions for Ms. Pollux? Ms. Pollux, is your assessment that for each of the parents that they're in partial compliance at this time?
I would say so, yes.
And I think I understand for Mr. Hyatt that we need to address the drug test and to re-engage with you more consistently. Ms. Warren, what is your recommendation for her in terms of focusing her time and energy now that she's available to engage in more of her services?
I would say getting stabilized, she just got out yesterday, so she's got a lot of things ahead of her, getting the terms of her probation, which she's not aware of yet, and making sure she's going to be a stable person. I think ongoing drug testing is important, but if the program, did what it was supposed to and helped, that wouldn't necessarily be our primary issue. I'd like to see individual therapy, be a big support to her at this time.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right, Ms. Levi, do you have additional witnesses to call?
No, Your Honor, I would rest.
Any witnesses from any other party?
No, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
All right, if not, before I turn to Ms. Sims and Ms. Delatorre or Mr. Schexnayder, can you all remind me the date that you have the jury setting in this case?
I show we have a jury docket call on June 20th and then July 12th. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's the bench. July 24th would be the start of the jury trial.
All right, well then, can I ask you, Ms. Sims, if you have a report and an assessment of how Angel's doing?
Angel's doing very well. He's been at the group home for quite some time and seems very comfortable there. He is engaging in therapy. My understanding of the therapist reports is that he's doing well. He really enjoys visits with his dad. He shared with me that he gets to see his dad and he enjoys seeing his dad. He doesn't seem traumatized at all. We actually looked at pictures of he and his brother at our last visit, and he wanted to talk about him. And he's very joyous. He's very loving. He is a sweet little kid. He seems to be doing very well given everything that he's been through. And I know that getting him in a family placement is definitely going to be in his best interest.
Wonderful. All right, well, thank you. And then Ms. Delatorre, what would you like to add to what we've discussed so far and your assessment of the case?
Sorry, Judge, she just texted me that her computer is blocking her microphone. So
okay, so can you speak on her behalf then, Mr. Schexnayder?
Yes, Judge. Angel is doing well, especially with everything that has happened in the last year and a half. CASA hasn't received the information for Misty Wisdom, I don't believe. So I would just ask that the department provide her contact information so we can reach out as well and find out her assessment. But I'm a little taken back by Dad not being as engaged, because I know the last few months he's been really, really active. And it's not like him not to be. So we are concerned about that. I'm hoping it's just a communication. Maybe his phone's not actively working right now or something. I don't know. But Angel is doing well. And I'm really hoping that we have a positive home study for him to be with family.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Schexnayder. Does anyone else need to address the court at this time before we wrap up? If not, based on the testimony the court has heard today, the court is going to find that both Mr. Hyatt and Ms. Warren are in partial compliance with their court-ordered plan of service. As far as Ms. Warren, it is good to see you. You are looking good, and I'm glad that you are bathed with family support. You've got a lot of people that are there to try to assist you and help you make this transition and help it be successful for you. So I just encourage you to work very closely with Ms. Pollux to help get those services initiated, start those regular visits with Angel, and we'll work to get you up and running. So to build on the progress that you made having successfully completed your program. I am worried about Mr. Hyatt, and certainly find his failure to attend today a troubling sign, as well as the drug test result and his diminished correspondence with the people he needs to maintain correspondence with in order to be successful in this case. I hope we can re-engage him and to get him back on the right track, because I think we have an avenue here to ensure that Angel is with family and has close contact and communication with both his parents, and to ensure that they stay a part of his life going forward. We just got to utilize the time we have remaining wisely and successfully. The court at this time is going to continue Angel's placement, find that continuation of that placement is in his best interest and all of his physical, emotional, and developmental needs are being met there presently. But if this expedited home study of Miss Wisdom is returned favorably and all parties are in agreement, the court is authorizing his placement with Miss Wisdom. If that placement is facilitated, the department through Belong needs to set up a therapist locally immediately, work on that now, so that we can start not only a continuation of his individual therapy, but the therapeutic visits that are so important for him and Miss Warren and Mr. Hyatt. The court at this time will order the parties to continue their mediation. I'm glad you have that set for May the 15th, and I will order all parties to attend on that day to complete your efforts to try to reach a settlement. And I will let you know that you are scheduled for, I think your docket call was on June the 20th. Is that correct, at 9? And then you have a jury setting on July 20th. What did I write down? 24th, Your Honor. 4th. And but if you reach an agreement and there is an agreement to proceed to waive any objection to the associate judge, and there's an agreement to proceed with a bench trial, this court is happy to hear the trial on July the 12th at 1. So you have that fallback setting if you do not wish to proceed with the jury demand that's currently in place. Miss Warren, I do have to admonish you at this hearing and at every hearing that the state of Texas gives parents in your situation a finite amount of time in order to show the court your ability to provide your child with a safe, stable, drug-free, and violence-free home. That date in this case is August the 12th of 2023. And if by that date you're unable to show your ability to do so, your rights are subject to being restricted or terminated. Do you understand that, Ms. Warren? All right, and that was a yes. So, all right, is there anything else that we need to address or this court needs to order to ensure that we are moving forward towards permanency for Angel at this time, and any other matters to address? Mr. Cabrera?
I just wanted to bring up, I had discussed the placement with Ms. Wisdom with my client at mediation. He's supportive of that placement, and you had mentioned needing the parties to agree. I'm able to do so now if that home study is approved.
That's helpful. That's very helpful to know, and I'll note that agreement on the record, Ms. Falkowitz.
Yes, Mom would also agree at this point.
Okay.
If you want to note that on the record as well.
All right. Well, that's very helpful to know that we have an agreement of both the parents that this is the preferred placement option if there's a favorable home study. And so I would imagine we just need Belong and the department and Ms. Sims and CASA having reviewed the home study to be supportive as well. So thank you, though. I really do hope that this will be a viable option and we'll get Angel back with the family. So thank you all so much. If there is nothing further, I may not see you again if you proceed with the jury trial, but we do have that fallback date if part of your agreement involves a waiver of the jury demand and any objection to the associate judge hearing the trial. So please keep me posted regardless of how things go. Thank you all so much. If there is nothing further, all parties, Mr. Saldivar, the attorney for Layla, to confer. So we will be just a few minutes until you see them back on the screen. So I will give you a moment to stop your video. I'll give you permission to stop your video and mute yourselves because we'll be in a collective recess until they return. All right. So if you'll just hold tight, we'll get started shortly, hopefully.
I'm sorry. I have a quick question. I never caught. I didn't get your name, but so how do you do?
My
the
name's
Zoom?
Melissa
Like the-
deGerolami, and I'm the associate judge who hears the child protection cases here in Wilson County. And so
I know,
I'm
okay.
conducting the proceeding, but I'm waiting on the attorneys to be present. Have you had a chance to confer with Ms. Hellrung?
I think, yeah, I believe so. I just saw her email that she emailed me, and I emailed her back, letting her know that everything she said was correct on what I was wanting to do and what I'm acknowledged of.
Okay.
So yeah, me and
Well,
her, we.
she may ask to meet with you privately in a breakout room when she comes back. And if that's the case, I'll allow that. Okay. But for right now, we're waiting on them to return.
Okay. Okay.
Let me just also recognize, Ms. Levi, were you aware of an intervention filed by Ms. Jennifer Tapia, who's just joined the call? I believe her clients are named Sherry and John Mark Hill. She just was on board. Would you like a moment to confer with her as well?
Your Honor, we are asking for more time on our position on the intervention. I saw the intervention come in a number of days ago, but the department is still trying to do its due diligence before deciding whether or not to file a motion to strike. So if the court would allow it, I would ask permission to have a little bit of time to look at it before having a department's position formally.
All right. Does the department have contact information for Mr. and Mrs. Hill, and have they spoken to them at all already?
Yes, Your Honor. And I believe the next person I need to speak with is my client. I believe the home study process. I don't know where we are in terms of the preliminary. I did just speak with Ms. Hellrung and Mr. Saldivar. I think similarly, we're waiting for the whole home study to come back before we would be comfortable placing. Additionally, we are hoping that we can wait until Ms. Pearsall is back in the country, because I reached out to confer with her a couple times, and I know she is, I believe, in Israel. And so we just kind of would like a little bit of time to look into that home study and kind of regroup.
All right. Do you want a minute to confer with your client before we proceed today? That's Ms. Ochoa, and Ms. Short was on here too, but I don't see her now.
If you could just give me one moment to call Ms. Ochoa. You don't really need to put us in a breakout room.
Okay.
It'll take me 30 seconds.
Well, all right. Ms. Tapia, we're just currently waiting for Ms. Cecilia Hellrung, who's standing in for Alana Pearsall, who, as you heard, is out of the country right now, with Miss Moley. So they're confirmed privately in a breakout room, and when they get back, I'll call the case, but I haven't started yet. We are set today for an adversary hearing in response to the department's petition for temporary managing conservatorship of the child. The court will recognize that the department is present this afternoon, represented by Ms. Leslie Levi and joined by Ms. Rosalinda Ochoa and Ms. Lauren Short. In addition, we have Ms. Cecilia Hellrung here on behalf of attorney Alana Pearsall, who is out of the country and who was appointed to represent the respondent mother, Madeline Moley. Ms. Moley is participating by phone and is present. The court also acknowledges that Ms. Jennifer Janis is present. She was appointed to represent the unknown father in this proceeding. Ms. Jennifer Tapia is here representing interveners John Mark Hill and Cherie Hill. And in addition, Mr. Richard Saldivar is here as the attorney and guardian ad litem for the child. Mr. Joseph Scheck-Snyder is present with CASA of South Texas, along with Miss Marguerite Loack, although I don't believe we've made that appointment yet, but I appreciate you being here. And it looks like we may have one of the foster parents present at the moment as well. So, Miss Levi, if I can get announcements from each of the parties at this time, we can determine whether we are in a position to move forward, and if so, in what way. So, Ms. Levi, what is the department's position this afternoon?
Thank you, Your Honor. The department is ready, and it is my understanding that the mother is agreeing to temporary orders. As I mentioned prior to formal announcement of the case, the department is asking for a little more time to work on their position on the intervention. Additionally, I have been told that the interveners essentially told the department they wouldn't speak to us without their attorney, so the home study hasn't been started. Ms. Tapia reached out to the department yesterday, but we have not yet been able to set up that home study process. So as I mentioned, that's part of why the department is asking the court to give us a little more time to work on our position, whether we're going to file the strike and to work on placement.
All right. And is, just so that I'm clear, and before I, turn to Ms. Tapia, is the department willing to do a home study of Mr. and Mrs. Hill?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Then Ms. Hellrung, on behalf of Ms. Moley, what is your announcement?
We are ready. She is in agreement with services and would ask for placement with her aunt and uncle today.
Okay. And is that Mr. and Mrs. Hill?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then Ms. Tapia, your announcement?
Your Honor, we're ready to move forward. I received the email late yesterday afternoon. I was in a hearing all afternoon. So I looked at it yesterday evening, and I just need to get with the Hills to coordinate that home study.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Tapia. And then Mr. Saldivar, are you also in agreement to temporary orders at this time on Layla's behalf?
Yes, Your Honor. And I'm in line with the state.
Okay. And Ms. Janice, it's not that I'm ignoring you, but I imagine you're ready to proceed, but you don't have a party to enter into agreement. So thank you for being patient and participating. I am going to ask Ms. Levi then, if there is an agreement between the department, Ms. Moley, and Mr. Saldivar as the ad litem, I would like to hear the framework of that agreement. Can you summarize that for me, Ms. Levi?
Yes, Your Honor. The agreement is for the department to be named temporary managing conservator of the child, and for the mother to be named possessory conservator with the standard rights and duties, and for her to work the standard services. Ms. Moley has been very cooperative and upfront with the department about the fact that she does have a substance abuse problem, which has endangered the physical health or safety of her child. I think she is eager to be put in services, and we are hoping that she can work on that substance abuse issue and get her child back.
All right. And in the meantime, the Layla is in a foster home?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And which county is that foster placement?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure of that. Ms. Ochoa, could you weigh in there?
It's going to be Guadalupe County.
Okay. And did you discuss visitation as part of your negotiations, Ms. Levi, between Ms. Moley and Layla?
We did not. We obviously do want to encourage that bond, so we are asking for weekly visitation.
And we would second that, Your Honor. This is a young child.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So, Ms. Hellrung, I've heard that the department is proposing temporary managing conservatorship to the department, with Ms. Moley being appointed possessory conservator, engagement and standard services, and for Layla to continue in her foster home while a home study is conducted on the home of Cherie Hill and John Mark Hill for potential placement. I'm assuming that if that home study is favorable, all parties would be in agreement, given that you've indicated that that's Miss Moley's desire as well, and that there'd be weekly supervised visitation between Miss Moley and Layla. Is that the agreement, or have I missed any details that you and Miss Moley discussed?
May I, Madeline, could you please mute your phone? There's a lot of feedback.
Oh, mute it?
Yeah, I'll do it for you, and then I'll tell you how to unmute yourself when I need to address you. So, all
Thanks
right.
so much.
So,
Sorry about that. Yes, that is the agreement. The only thing my client would like is placement immediately, is what she's asking for.
All right. But it doesn't sound like the department has the information that it needs, and Ms. Tapia concedes that, and that she has not yet been able to discuss the home study process with her client. So, Ms. Tapia, am I hearing you correctly?
Yes, Your Honor, and I will, after this, immediately call my clients and let them know that they can proceed with the home study, that I do not have to be present. I had never relayed that to them. I think they were just an abundance of caution, not knowing, but
right.
I will let them know that they can proceed and get that done immediately, so she can be placed with them.
All right. And I don't have an issue with ordering an expedited home study, that the department would have no objection to proceeding in that way under the circumstances, would it?
Your Honor, we have some concerns with the placement, so we don't want to be overly hasty. I don't think there's any problem expediting it for us to look at it, but we do want to make sure that we are following our due diligence.
Right, and I don't have a problem with that either, but it an expedited home study does have a quicker turnaround time. It doesn't mean it's less thorough. So, all right, Mr. Saldivar, do you also agree with those terms and conditions for temporary orders on Layla's behalf?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd request that we don't move her until the results of the home study, and if I can get for Ms. Tapia, if she can just send me the contact information for the aunt and uncle so I can have a conversation with them, maybe go visit the home as well so I can put my 2 cents in for that.
I will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That would be fantastic. All right. Well, then I hear a basic agreement of the parties at this time, which this court is willing to adopt and approve. The court at this time will order that the department be appointed temporary managing conservator of the child Layla, and will appoint Miss Madeline Moley, her mother, as a temporary possessory conservator with all the rights and duties that accompany that appointment under the Texas Family Code. In addition, the court will order that she participate in standard services to include, but not be limited to, a drug and alcohol assessment and any treatment or services recommended from that assessment, individual counseling to submit to random drug testing as requested by the department, to complete a parenting class, and as I said before, any additional services that might be discussed and determined necessary as part of a family group conference, which this court is ordering be facilitated by the department and attended by all parties to develop an individual service plan for Ms. Moley going forward. The court at this time is going to authorize Layla's continued placement in her foster home in Guadalupe County, but will order an expedited home study on the home of Cherie and John Mark Hill for consideration of potential placement. The court would authorize placement with Mr. and Mrs. Hill if there is a favorable home study and all parties are in agreement following the receipt of that home study, which would mean if it's back and favorable and all parties are in agreement, placement can proceed prior to our return to court in this case. If there is some areas of disagreement, then you can set the matter before this court and we can determine whether and in what manner we can move forward with placement with Mr. and Ms. Hill. The court is also going to order that Ms. Moley have weekly supervised visits with Layla to be set up and facilitated and supervised by the department or its designee. And the court finds that all of these orders are in the child Layla's best interest. And at this time hopes that Mr. Scheck-Snyder, your and Ms. Loeck's presence on this case indicates an interest in taking it on. I would be happy to appoint CASA in this case, and Ms. Loeck, welcome your participation. So thank you. And for that reason, Ms. Tapia, with a CASA appointed, if you can also advise your clients, Mr. and Mrs. Hill, that Ms. Loeck, I anticipate signing an appointment order, and her access to the home is important as well to give guidance to this court about potential placement.
I will do that, Your Honor.
Thank you so much. And then we will be back for a status hearing in this case on May the 10th at 3:30 in the afternoon. This court will be here in person in Wilson County on that date, but I am willing to offer Zoom proceedings to the parties if there is an agreement among the parties to participate in this format. Is there an agreement to continue with Zoom proceedings in this case going forward?
Ms. Pearsall has no objection to continuing on Zoom.
No objection.
No objection.
All right.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. Well, great. Well, then the court is recording an agreement of the parties that the future hearings in this case, including our hearing on May the 10th at 3:30, that there's an agreement to proceed via Zoom. So that hearing will be via Zoom like today's hearing as well. I do want, if I can, Ms. Moley, I need to ask you a couple of questions. And if you're able to unmute yourself now, you can do that by pressing *6. All right, thank you. Ms. Moley, are you presently employed?
Yes, I actually just got a job. Sorry.
What do you do?
I am a housekeeping at Holiday Inn in Floresville, Texas.
Okay, but you said you just got that. When did you start?
I started about 3 days ago.
Okay, so you haven't gotten your first paycheck?
No.
Okay.
So we're
And
working. We're working too.
Did you have a job prior to that?
Prior to that, yes. I was working at Taco Bell. I was pregnant during that time up until my second week of delivery. And I have not been employed the whole full 3.5 months of my of Layla being born.
Okay. Can I ask if you were receiving food stamps or if you and Layla have been on Medicaid?
Yes.
Is it yes to all of those
Yes, Your Honor.
questions? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. Well, then I'm going to find that you're indigent for purposes of these proceedings, which means that I will continue Ms. Alana Pearsall as your attorney throughout this case. And Ms. Hellrung has been kind enough to step in on her behalf while she was out of the country. But Ms. Pearsall will remain your attorney going forward. So thank you for helping me answer those questions. I have one more question for you, and that is there any reason for you to believe that Layla may be eligible for membership in any federally recognized Indian tribe?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I have to admonish you at this time and at every hearing going forward that the state of Texas gives parents in your position 1 year to show the court your ability to provide Layla with a safe and stable home. If you're unable to do that within that span of time, your rights are subject to being restricted like they are right now or terminated, which means cut off altogether. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor. I understand
All
that.
right. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that we need to address at this time?
Judge, I do have one issue regarding vaccinations. I believe that the pediatrician is asking to give Layla the 3-month or the standard vaccinations. I don't know if that's going to be an issue.
I forgot, I did talk to her about that. She is okay approving or consenting to vaccinations, but it's not in agreement with the COVID vaccine.
iPhone charger.
Okay, I believe we lost foster mom, but that was the only issue. That was my concern. Yes.
Okay, so we can go ahead and move forward with the standard vaccinations that she needs at this time?
That's my understanding
All
from
right.
talking to her, correct?
All right, well, thank you for having that discussion with her, with Ms. Moley, and I appreciate that clarification. Is there anything else that we need to discuss? If not, I'll see you all back on May the 10th at 3:30, and all parties are excused.